Welcome, and today I am doing a reaction video to the Sony's Facing Creativity with Brooke Shaden. And in particular, I'm going to go over my episode because I was there and I filmed, and I'm just curious on if this software will work properly or not. So let's just have some fun with it. I think the great thing is all the work they did with this intro. I liked little snippets of everybody involved. You get a tiny little bit of a feel about what you're in for with the landscapes and the people, and just a tiny bit of the concept. I love it. I really love the backlit here. So I really thought it was funny that Devin called me up for the day 2, and he's like, "We're gonna go to a parking garage," and I was like, "Okay." I knew everybody else. I had asked where everybody else had been doing things, and they did a few. I could tell they did a few things outside, and I was like, "Parking garage? What are we gonna do with that?" So some of that footage in the parking garage was really, really great because it felt like I was a little bit of what is the word? A little bit of Blade Runner-ish, I had my chunky boots on, had the lights with puddles and overhead lights and side lights and running around with the tripod. And I'm such a huge fan of Blue Man Group that this shirt is kind of like an homage to the Blue Man, very, very subtle. So what's another great thing about what Brooke is saying here about connection is I wouldn't have been able to even voice that up until the last few years when I believe that, 2020 kind of redefined so many of our lives as far as community and connection. And I can now say that over the last 15 years, that's what I've been doing, or what I felt like I've been doing, is just getting together with people that are like-minded, and then we all feed off of each other. We all communicate with each other. And I think that is a super fun, exciting and inspirational thing to be a steward of connection. So all these behind the scenes are all of my wonderful friends I've been doing collaborations with. It was really hard to pick photos, by the way. Sometimes I had to go with what was on my website or what was nearby. It's not because I didn't want to forget anybody though, right? I tried to throw in so many photos. Our IHOP photo. So if you can see here, if you see the behind the scenes image of me sitting there with a green girl and a couple of other ladies, that was my Star Trek original series set, and we went off to IHOP afterwards and scared everybody with our costumes. It was great. I think it's important to also note here that there was a lot on the editing floor that didn't make it in. So I did do some crying on this episode, mostly because I did have to dig a little deeper into what was going on to get to the place where I needed to go with this particular episode. So when she starts asking about when have I not felt accepted, I definitely went with the one that's the most prominent in an industry that tells us to stay within the lines, but then also color outside the lines. But most of the time, I feel like it celebrates you staying in the lines more than outside the lines. And that's kind of where that came from. And one of the hardest decisions I made was realizing that I just couldn't conform anymore. And every time I tried to conform, I felt more and more unfulfilled. And the moment I just let go and started making things and then working with clients, the quicker I was able to have that acceptance of myself versus looking for the acceptance of everybody else. And especially in these communities where there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of people that do things. Sorry, my cat. Well, this has been I'm gonna pause this for a second. This has been something that's been on my mind for a really long time, especially when I'm working in several industries and I'm looking at how we treat other people versus, maybe the new people into the industry versus the veterans in the industry. Whatever industry that might be, it could be the arts industries or the photography, the weddings. There's a way that we look at people just based upon how long they've been doing it or how professional they look or how their images look. And don't get me wrong, there's a way to look at things without being judgy. You can have that insight into something, but a lot of the times what I find is we're just being judgy. And that usually comes with an emotion of negativity or insecurity or something about that we're passionate about, but we take it out on somebody else. And I think there's a way, probably a better way to communicate that than making feel people less than, or than people feeling less than because somebody said something to them. And I think it also goes both ways. If somebody, if you've opened yourself to critique and criticism, then at one point you're going to have to be open to have, things said to you that you may have to change, that you may have to look at, um, especially when you're trying to improve on a craft that will always be improving on. So, needless to say, I'm happy with this because I didn't want to come across as judgy to everybody else who's being judgy. But I love the projection so much. Okay, if you're wondering where the narwhal comes from, when I started, Brooke starts sharing a lot of things over the years, and occasionally she'll let a fear slip out, and one of them was of whales. And so I just randomly started making a pattern to sew a little narwhal, which is basically a unicorn whale, and I gave it to her as a present. So the narwhal that you see in this video is actually the second, I believe it's the second one, um, that she uses for the foster kids, and they really enjoy that as a toy. So I was happy to include this in the video. It was super cute and made me smile. I know there's a lot more here with my creative process that, uh, yeah, I don't really take a lot of notes. I don't do a lot of drawing, and if I do, it's because somebody told me that was the thing to do. And a lot of times, if I need to write it down, it's because I want to remember it. It's not because I'm in the process of creating. Um, so I just thought it was funny that in doing this series, I actually had to do a self portrait, which was really hard in general because I really prefer to work with models. But you'll notice that if we're supposed to be facing fear, I felt like I had to face the fear in this one. And projection was the obvious choice for what I wanted to do because of fear in general, how I feel it's so an intangible presence that, but it's a presence, but if you don't have like this thing that you can touch. And so I brought out the dress, and Brooke was my tester, and I think that was a perfect way to just see what it would look like in this space. And believe me, I creeped out majority of the people on set with this creepy face because it is a creepy object. And when I bought it, I didn't think I would use it for something like this. I think I bought it knowing I would eventually use it, but knowing that I could use it for this series was perfect because it's relaying the concept very nicely and very quickly. And this particular image wasn't going to be that subtle. It was kind of like, here's your fear, and here's you facing your fear, and it's ugly, and it's gross, and it's bloody. So the technical aspects are great. Sony's got these great cameras and lenses that we were using on set, and the color coming off of the back was amazing. Like the reds, you can't see it as well in this video, but the reds coming off the back of the camera were stunning. And I'm not usually a fan of red in general. I don't like red lighting, and I don't like red on things. It usually never translate, but in this one, it kind of worked for me. And I'm the kind of person that I don't wanna sit in Photoshop for too long or, in Lightroom too long, so a lot of my stuff will be very, like, just clean it up later kind of a thing, so as we're running through Lightroom, you can kinda see a few of the images I took. I took several types of images in this set just to see what would work, and, projection is tricky, so you never know what the actual result could be unless you actually play with it, and I think that was a big thing I wanted to get across in this video as well, is that I embrace a form of play in my art. And so as you saw me gallivanting around the garage, that was me playing in the garage and helping Devin get the concept for our B-roll. And then here I am inside Lightroom trying to figure out through the play process, where can I have a final, image that I can share with everybody. And it just took a few minutes to take this in, that the image does represent a lot of pain. It does represent facing fear and actually coming through fear. And I think Brooke really brought it home with all of her questions. And I think the insights after this episode too were really, really good. The more that I watch it, the more I'm listening to what she says and also what I say together. How we're having this nice conversation and we're having this creative moment. I think what it comes down to too, like as we're coming to the end of this video, is whatever the art medium that you're using to express yourself is, have fun with it, play with it. And I think a lot of purpose comes out of these things that we do, especially creatively. So I feel like I have a purpose to express who I am and a purpose to connect with others. And I definitely use art to address my own personal issues, whatever they could be. And I'm kind of like a real time kind of person. I don't want to sit on it and then make a picture. I'd rather make a picture while I'm in the pain. And at the end of all this, I'm saying go out there and be successful, find love, be love. And this wonderful swooping at the end across my shoulder is beautiful. Devin did a great job helping me express who I was in video. It was very awesome. Great job, Sony. Great job, Brooke. That was amazing. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for more behind the scenes videos of the concept facing creativity. Bye for now.